right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you remember. So basically, the group which is made up of mainly of carbon and hydrogen, those are called as hydrocarbons. So in which we discussed about alkane, we discussed about alkene, alkyne. So then we discussed about so alkane is single bond, the hydrocarbon having single bond, alkene is double bond, and alkyne is triple bond. So functional group containing oxygen atom. So can you name what are the functional group we discussed having oxygen atom?
Alcohol,
Alcohol,
ether,
absolutely right. Okay,
ether,
ether then.
aldehyde,
Yes,
ketone,
aldehyde, right? Aldehyde. Who is answering?
Aishwarya, sir.
Okay, ketone. Anything else? Quickly. Okay, so those are example for the functional groups containing oxygen atom, right? So any functional group containing nitrogen atom,
Amine, imine,
Sir, amines.
amine, right? So then amide, then
nitrile,
nitrile. Okay, enough. Okay, these are the example for functional groups containing nitrogen. Okay, nitrogen containing functional group. So any example for functional group which contains oxygen and nitrogen, both.
amide,
Amide. Okay, yeah, amide.
nitro,
Nitro means N. Okay,
RN,
then anything
carbonate,
else? Carbo,
carbonate,
carbonate. Does it contain nitrogen? Hmm?
yes, sir.
So what
Yes,
is
sir.
the okay? So CO minus. Do you mean this as carbonate? No, no. This is carboxylate, right? Okay, carbonate is okay. Then anything else? Any other functional group? Anything other than that?
Urea,
Urea. Okay, urea is okay. Okay, fine. Okay, so so what we basically learned today is so did we discuss about solubility, the relationship of functional group to solubility? Hmm? Say anything or do we discussed about this topic?
No, sir.
No. Okay, right. So maybe we'll first discuss about that, right? So before going for acidic and basic functional group, so if you take any drug molecule, so we expect the drug molecule to get soluble in water or aqueous and lipid or organic solvent. Okay, so any good drug molecule should have balanced solubility between water and lipid. Okay, so we'll take one example. So very commonly used drug molecule is aspirin. Okay, I am just going to show the structure of aspirin to you. So is the structure of aspirin visible for you? I have drawn the structure of aspirin. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. Okay, the
Yes,
first
sir.
thing is, can you tell what are the various functional groups which are present? So what are the various functional groups which are present in this molecule?
So ketones.
Carboxylate.
Hmm?
Carboxylic acid.
Carboxylic acid is present, right? Okay, so let me copy this once again to image. Yeah. This is aspirin. Okay. Yeah. I'm just going to import aspirin to this. Insert picture. Desktop. Yeah. This is the structure of aspirin, right? So can you now tell what are the various functional groups which are present? So what is the name for this functional group?
Carboxylic acid.
Carboxylic, sir.
Okay, carboxylic acid, right? So acid functional group then. So any name for this functional group?
Ester, sir.
Ester, sir.
Methoxyester,
Wha-
sir.
wha-
Methoxyester.
Methoxyester or ester?
I think methoxyester, sir.
Okay, we go with ester, right? So what is the general representation of ester? R C O O R. Is it right?
Yes, sir.
So if we name this R C O O R, okay, so we can say this as generally ester, right? So if we say this is methoxy, then this functional group is called as methoxy. CH3 OH is called as CH3O is called as methoxy. We cannot call this as methoxy. Who's it methoxy?
Subhachandran, sir. Sorry, sir.
No. Okay, no problem. Right, it is not methoxy. Okay, we cannot call it as methoxy.
Okay, sir.
Right. So we can call it as ester functional group. Anything apart from this two functional group? Anything other than
benzene ring.
this? Not so audible.
Benzene ring, sir.
Phenyl.
Benzene. Okay, so
Phenyl.
we can write this as phenyl. Okay, so this is a very simple drug molecule. Very easily you can tell what are the various functional groups present. So let me go for a little complex. Okay, so okay. Again, this is another simple drug molecule. So anybody know what's the name of this drug?
Paracetamol,
Okay,
sir.
this is paracetamol. So again, you have to tell what are the various functional groups which are present. So can you tell what are the various functional groups which are present in this molecule?
So secondary amine.
Hydroxyl group, sir.
So
Secondary
let's start
amine.
with a simple one. This one, I just highlight, right? So your job is simple. You have to tell what is the name for that functional group.
Hydroxyl, sir.
Hydroxyl group. Okay. Any other? Okay. So this one,
Amide group, sir.
amide. What's the general representation of amide?
HNCOR.
HN. Okay. COR.
R.
Okay. So HNCOR. So COR. So we can call this amide, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anything other than this functional group?
Secondary amine, sir.
Phenyl group.
Which one is secondary amine?
NH, sir.
Okay. So this is a phenyl. Who's at secondary amine?
So say the number.
Do you mean this as secondary amine? So you have to refer your lecture notebook. Last class we discussed about each and every functional group, right? Is it secondary amine or not? Can we call it as secondary amine or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what's the general representation of secondary amine?
R2NH4.
Okay, right. R2N
H.
H, right? So this is R1. If we put this as R1 and this is R2, here we have the NH. So we can call this as this separately as secondary amine. Okay. If you want to name this separately, what's the name for this functional group? I don't want to include this CH3 along with this O. So how we can name this? Hmm? So I just want to name. Okay, so absolutely right. Who said? Okay, so this is should be called as carbonyl. So this time I just wanted to name this group alone as a functional group. What should be the name?
Methyl, sir.
Methyl. Absolutely right. Okay, so this time I don't want to I don't want to label this separately. Okay, what I want to do is that along with this, I just wanted to name this as a functional group.
Phenol, sir.
Benzyl.
Phenol, right? Okay, not benzyl. Phenol. It's a phenolic functional group. C6, H5, and OH. Okay, so we'll take a little more complex structure. So do you know which molecule is used for coronavirus as an antiviral drug? What's the name of the molecule? Hmm? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
There is a chloro. Name it correctly. Yeah, you're close to the correct
Sir, is
answer.
it hydroxychloroquine?
Is it
Is it hydroxychloroquine?
hydroxychloroquine? Yeah, right. Hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Chloroquine. This is chloroquine. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we just take this as example. Hydroxychloroquine, chloroquine, they're having very similar structure. We'll take this chloroquine, right? So what you have to do is same thing. You have to tell now what are the various functional groups which are present in chloroquine, which is used as antiviral drug for against corona. Yeah, is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Is the
Yes,
structure
sir.
visible? Yeah. So we start from maybe here. So what's the name of this functional group?
Methyl.
Methyl group. Okay.
Methyl.
Okay. What is the name for this? Again, same thing, right? So again, this group is also same methyl group. So anybody name this part? What's the name for this?
Alkane.
Alkane, sir.
Spell it. AL.
K-A-N-E. K-A-N-E.
Alkane. Okay. I got some other answer. Methylene. Who's that?
Ashwin.
Okay. Can you spell it? M-E? T-H?
L-E-N.
Why? L-E-N-E, right? So absolutely right. So we cannot call this as alkane. We have to call this as methylene because here you have CH2 group. Everyone please note it down. So what he said is right. It is methylene group. Okay. Yeah. So again, I label this. This is CH2. You have a CH2 group here. That should be called as methylene group. It's not alkane. We cannot call it as alkane, right? So coming to this part, so how to what type of functional group is this? Can we call it as chlorobenzene? Am I
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay, it's a chlorobenzene group. So if you want to name this as a functional group, how to name this?
Quinoline, sir.
Sorry,
Quinoline.
you mean that two benzene rings attached together? Am I right? Hmm?
With nitrogen, with an M
What's the name for this functional group? So
nitrocyclic compound.
two benzene rings which are attached together. What's the name for this functional group? Nothing is new. Everything you have studied in your 11th standard and 12th standard. So quickly, what's the name of this functional group? Hmm? You can refer online, no issues. You can refer your lecture notebook. So what is the name for this functional group? We already studied about this and this. What's the name for this and this? Anyone? So nitrogen.
Sir,
Naphthalene.
secondary amine and tertiary amine, sir.
So secondary amine and tertiary amine. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. Okay. So some other girl answered for this part. What's the name for this?
Naphthalene.
Naphthalene, right? So two benzene ring if we attach, that is naphthalene, right? So okay. Okay, that's major functional groups which are present in this. Uh, can you name some other commonly used drug molecule? Any drug molecule which is very commonly used. Hmm? Okay, I'm going to take this molecule because it's one of the very famous drug molecule. Now, if you look at the complexity of the structure is increased, right? So we'll take this as example. So this molecule is called as indinavir. It's FDA approved drug molecule, commonly used for treating HIV. Okay. So is the structure visible?
Yes, sir.
Structure of indinavir, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the complexity, you had agreed that the complexity of the molecule is now increased to some extent, right? So any one of you can you tell what is the name for this functional group? What is the name for this functional group? Hmm?
Alcohol, sir.
Okay, it is an alcohol functional group. Absolutely right. So we'll finish this. First, we start with very simple functional group, right? So what is the name for this functional group?
Tertiary alkane, sir.
Okay, so tertiary alkane. Okay. So or we can say three methyl groups we have, right? Individually, we can name it as three methyl group. What's the name for this functional group?
Amide, sir.
Amide. Okay. So now this is simple again. So what's the name for this functional group? Again, it's going to be alcohol, right? So now the complexity is increased here. So can you tell what's the name for this functional group? If I want to name this as a separate functional group, a 6-membered ring to which a 5-membered ring is attached. What is the name for this functional group? You can do a very simple Google search and tell. What's the name for this functional group?
Indole.
Indole is. Do we need any heteroatom for indole, or simply can we call this 6-membered ring with 5-membered ring as indole? There are no heteroatoms in this.
So indole has an heteroatom.
That's what I'm saying. There are no there are no heteroatoms in any of this 5-membered ring or 6-membered ring. What should be the name for this functional group? What is the name for this functional group? What's the name of this functional group? This is
Phenyl, sir.
okay. So simple phenyl, right? So what's the name of this functional group? Somebody told for the previous example.
So methylene.
Methylene. Okay. So what is the name for now coming for this part, right? So what's the name for this functional group? In which a 6-membered ring is attached to a 5-membered ring. So how do you name in ATGC, right? So 4 bases, which makes DNA. Okay, so how do you name the base that has 5-membered ring attached to 6-membered ring?
Purine, sir. Purine.
Okay, yeah. So what is the name for this functional group?
Sir, but purine has heteroatoms like that. Nitrogen.
Yes.
In both
Then
the
what's the name for
6-membered ring,
this?
5-membered.
Yeah. What is the name? Then what's the name for this? Absolutely right. We cannot call it as purine because you can see many number of nitrogen NH in both the 6-membered and 5-membered ring. First question is, can we give any name or not? Second question is, if we can give some name, what's the name of this functional group? Any answer?
Indan, sir.
Huh? Can you
Indan.
spell it? IN? IND?
AN.
AN. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Indan. Oh, what is this functional group? Is it 6-membered ring attached to 5-membered ring without any heteroatoms?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Everyone you people have to check this. Okay, you just Google search and check what is this indan functional group. If it is a 6-membered ring attached to a simple 5-membered ring, then we can label this as indan, right? So anybody know what is the name for this functional group? 6-membered ring in which we have one nitrogen atom. We cannot call this as phenyl. What is the name for this functional group? 6-membered ring in which you have one heteroatom. So I
Is it
can
azoles?
Okay, 6-membered ring in which azole. Who's it?
Sir,
In one
Harish.
question we have nitrogen. Okay, so just go for okay. So structure and structure to name is okay. Let's take this as what it is.
Pyridine, sir.
It is a pyridine. Are you able to see that? So what's the name for this?
Yes, sir.
What's the name for this functional group? There is a pyridine functional group present. So anybody guess what is this functional group now?
Tertiary
You
amine,
have
sir.
okay, in different ways we can name. So if you take this individually, then who's a tertiary amine?
Sethuraman, sir.
Okay, tertiary amine. Here we have another tertiary amine. Sometimes we may want to label the entire stuff as single functional group. That is also possible, right? So thing is that there are different ways by which we can say what type of functional group is present. Is it fine? You need any more example, or shall we go to the next topic?
Next topic, sir. We can go.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So next topic is we'll see as I said that there are two types of solubility which is very important for any oral drug molecule. Again, I want to emphasize I am talking about oral drug molecule. So first type of solubility is the water solubility, and the second type is the lipid solubility. Okay, so already we discussed about different types of intermolecular interactions like covalent bond. So we discussed about ionic bonding. We discussed about van der Waals interaction. We discussed about hydrophobic interaction. We discussed about hydrogen bonding interaction, which is example for dipole-dipole. And this van der Waals interaction is an example for induced dipole interaction. Okay, so yeah, these are some of the examples of the commonly occurring chemical bonding between the drug molecule and the drug target. Okay, so now we'll see how this interaction, how much this interaction is important for the water solubility of the drug molecule and lipid solubility of the drug molecule, and which interaction favors the water solubility and which interactions favors the lipid solubility. Okay, let me show one presentation for you. So is my presentation visible? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
It's visible, sir.
Yes, right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll see, right? So which bonding is important for the water solubility and which bonding is important for the lipid solubility. Okay. So the first bonding is the van der Waals interaction, right? So this is example for what type of molecule is this? What type of functional group do we have in this molecule? So can we
Alkane.
call this molecule? Is it? Yeah. Okay. So alkane is the functional group, right? So okay. So hydrocarbon. Okay. So here so here you have carbon, carbon, carbon. So each carbon is attached to another carbon. Each hydrogen is attached to the carbon through a chemical bonding called as covalent bond. So what is covalent bond? As we already discussed that it is a kind of mutual sharing of electron between two atoms. Am I right? This mutual sharing is, we represented it as line, which means that two electrons are there. One is shared by the first carbon, the another one is shared by the second carbon. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. Okay. So have we completed molecular modeling? One or two? So in which you might studied about atomic orbitals. Do you remember? also the molecular orbitals. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
people
sir.
can
Yes, sir.
respond,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So what is the difference between atomic and molecular orbital? Orbital is, we have different energy level for the electron. So if you take any atom, the electrons can, there will be, different. Di- so what is the number of electrons in carbon? The atomic number of carbon is
6, sir.
6, right? So how we can write the electronic configuration? 1s2, 2s2, and 2p2, right? 6 electrons. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So each electron can present in different orbit. That depends. This 2 electrons will be present in one orbital, and this 4 will be in the another orbital, right? So we can say that the outermost electron in carbon is 4 electrons we have in the outermost shell. Okay. So each atom will have the electronic cloud. Okay, so when two atoms interact with each other, then the atomic orbital of the atom, they combine to form the molecular orbital. It's a very basic science. I'm not going very detailed, right? The intention is just making it understand what is essential for understanding the van der Waals interaction. So in this case, that is what happened. The electronic there's a kind of overlap between the orbitals of two carbon atoms that lead for the formation of the uh, molecular orbital. So now the electron can present anywhere within this orbital. Okay, so when one electron is present here and the another electron is present here, the electronic cloud will be very even. Okay, the electrons are evenly distributed to the carbon atom 1 and carbon atom 2. But because of the movement of the electron, what may happen is, sometimes the electronic cloud on one atom, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Here you
Sir.
can see the difference is, now the electronic cloud is not evenly distributed in this case. It is kind of uneven. So this carbon, the electronic cloud near to this carbon is, more comparing to this carbon. So that eventually, lead for formation of small negative charge on this carbon and small positive charge on this carbon. So this we can call it as a dipole because we have two charges separated by some distance. But we cannot call this as a permanent dipole. This is an example for transient dipole. Is it understandable? So can you now tell why this is called as a transient dipole? It is not permanent dipole. So why do we call it as a transient dipole?
Distribution of electrons will not symmetric.
Okay, so when we can say this is a permanent dipole? If you take a carbonyl group, okay, so if you take a functional group like this, we can say that this is having a permanent dipole, a negative charge here and a positive charge here. So I can call this as a permanent dipole, but I cannot call this as a permanent dipole. Situation is same. Here we have two opposite charges separated by some distance. Here also we have two opposite charges separated by certain distance. But I cannot call this as a permanent dipole, but I can call this as a permanent dipole. Why? Anybody having answer or not?
More electronegative.
More electronegative. Finish the answer. Give completeness for your answer. Give completeness for your sentence. More electronegative.
Sharing of electrons, which will be
Who is
unequal.
answering?
So Aishwarya. Sir.